Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Once again, we're going to be talking about housing prices, but I have something else I want to share with you ahead of time. I don't know if anybody's heard of the builder D.R. Horton. There was an article that came out recently, and I'm going to be sharing a little bit about what this article is claiming about the builder of D.R. Horton. I think everybody needs to know about it since it is a national builder. We do have a special guest on today. You guys might have remembered him because every time my internet goes down, he always helps take over the show. His name is Terry Berger. He's a nice guy, real estate guy. Nice guy, real estate. Here he comes. Terry Berger. Here he is.
Hey, Kristina, what's going on? How are you?
We're doing good. We're doing good. So, we're going to be talking about a little bit about the housing prices. I'm going to be getting into that article in a little bit, but I'm going to read this article first because this is so important. So here, Eddie, go ahead and pull up this D.R. Horton article. I don't know if you've seen this yet. Lawsuit claims that D.R. Horton can't withstand Louisiana humidity. Alabama case alleges critical mistakes. Scroll on down, my friend Eduardo. Okay, here we go. Alicia and Wes Dixon purchased their first newly constructed home from D.R. Horton in 2014 because it was a school district they desired and they liked how the home's layout is. Now, 8 years later, they feel trapped in their Youngsville, Louisiana house, which they say has toxic mold because of a faulty construction that the builder did not properly address during the home warranty period. Here in Louisiana, you have a 1 year bumper to bumper warranty, but then on your components, it's only 5 years. Unless it's the roof. Okay, now we're still living in our home right now, says Alicia Dixon in an interview on Thursday. We can't afford to move, and we don't have any family in the area. And where are they going to find a place to move, anyways? You're essentially a prisoner in your own home. The Dixons have been the face of what attorneys hope to be the class action lawsuit against D.R. Horton and one of their subcontractors. Ooh. I know. 10 South Louisiana attorneys sued D.R. Horton and Bell Mechanical Services in a state court this week on the behalf of the Dixons and thousands of homeowners in Louisiana. The attorneys who filed the lawsuit on Tuesday in the 19th Judicial Court District in East Baton Rouge Parish, which is right around the corner from me, have asked for the judge to rule on whether the case may proceed as a class action lawsuit. Based on experts' investigations, some D.R. Horton homes are designed to prone to leakage, high interior humidity levels, mold, and mildew growth, the attorney said in a Thursday statement. We anticipate that thousands of homes across South Louisiana and the South will experience these issues.
Thousands of homeowners.
Yep.
Thousands.
The petition filed with Lafayette attorneys Lance Beal and Alan Hanley, Baton Rouge attorneys, blah, 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 blah. Oh, we'll go past this. Together, they allege that the homes built by D.R. Horton after, oops, Eddie, you scrolled up a little too high. Together, they allege that homes built by D.R. Horton after 2012 were not constructed to withstand normal, typical Louisiana weather, which was very common with something they had, which was this insulated foam. We had moisture problems with that as well. D.R. Horton and a subcontractor of Bell Mechanical allegedly conspired together to intentionally mislead the Dixons and other home buyers in a scheme of fraud and bracketeering while installing repairing the HVAC systems in the new homes, the attorney said. The lawsuit alleges that the Dixons' home was constructed with improper attic and ventilation, improper air conditioning system that created a negative pressure environment in the home, which draws in warm, moist air inside, which we already have moist air in the air in Louisiana. So this is a massive problem. When the Dixons took their concerns to D.R. Horton during the warranty period, Bell Mechanical often did not address the problems until months after the warranty claims had been submitted by the lawsuit says. Repairs and corrections to known design defects were dragged out to conceal home defects with quick fixes, including installing dehumidifiers, which is not a fix, in the petitioner's home. The lawsuit says the homeowners were required in the terms of the home warranty to use only Bell Mechanical to service their HVAC system problems. Okay.
That's a red flag.
Yeah, and I want to say this. If you are having an issue like this, doesn't matter who the home builder is, and they say you only can use one contractor, that doesn't mean you can don't have to have another contractor come out there and evaluate the issue. So you can say, yes, we're only going to have Bell Mechanical fix this issue if that's what we're required by the warranty. But go ahead and get another opinion from an outside contractor to get their opinion of what they think is wrong with it. And I wouldn't just go with one, go with two. So that way you have documentation, like this is what Bell Mechanical said was the problem, but this is what these other two have claimed is the issue. So that way you have a record of what's going on. Go ahead and scroll down a little bit further. Eduardo. The lawsuit says that Leslie Gulkin of D.R. Horton City Management, West Division of Louisiana, said said in a recorded conversation, the building company follows federal building codes that may not be designed for South Louisiana homes. She works for D.R. Horton, and she said that out loud. We build the federal mandated code, and we regulated by the federal law. And according to the lawsuit, we build in the code that was not designed for very humid markets. Oh, she said that. That's her quote. The Dixons and others have paid for inspections and repairs and lost home value, lost use and enjoyment of their home, paid for electricity and experienced health problems, expenses suffered on inconvenience and mental anguish as a result of D.R. Horton's and Bell Mechanical's actions in the lawsuit. Attempts to reach D.R. Horton, the Baton Rouge office, Bell Mechanical Baton Rouge office Friday was unsuccessful. Who knew?
Shocking.
Yeah. Bill also represented homeowners in similar cases throughout the Lafayette Parish court system. On Thursday phone interview, Bill said that he realized the magnitude of the problem and his team is working through those cases. I will say this. Whenever we have these cases come up, normally, whenever you start sending what we call certified letters that document, whenever anything happens and you buy a brand new home and you're having problems with your builder, fixing the problems that were in the home warranty, start sending certified letters. So that way you have a recorded documentation that these things have been sent out. Emails can only go you so far. But if you have like they have received it, like, because they can say, oh, we never got the email. Oh, that must have ended our spam. When you have a certified letter, they have to sign for it. So you have that recorded, that in the record. So that way you can, identify your whole timeline of when these things were supposed to be addressed and they hadn't been addressed. So that's just, I wanted to give everybody a little word of warning. And it doesn't matter if it's D.R. Horton or a custom home builder here in Louisiana and in many other states. If you have a home warranty, these things happen. Bad construction happens. Even with the best of builders, sometimes subcontractors do a crappy job. Just make sure you document everything that happens at the beginning, so all the way to the end. So that way you can get them addressed ahead of time. So if you do have to sue, you have good records of everything that happened. I know lots of people have had D.R. Horton homes here in the area, and I just thought it was important that we share that with you. If you have a D.R. Horton home, let me know in the comment section. Say, I have got a D.R. Horton home. So, Terry, do you guys in Atlanta? Terry's in Atlanta, if you guys didn't know. Do you guys have a new home warranty act, or is that on the individual builders themselves?
Yeah, so the builders have to give a year warranty on, I believe, everything. This reminds me of the Chinese drywall case a few years ago. Remember that when there weren't enough drywall manufacturers
here in Louisiana.
Yeah. And I always wondered, how these national builders do this, because if you're building in Palm Springs, California versus Louisiana versus Dallas, Texas versus Atlanta, the climate is so different everywhere. It's not like one size fits all in terms of code, and that was curious too, like what they said, oh, we're governed by federal regulation. I don't buy that for a second. I feel like when they're building in a state, they're bound by those states' codes, because that's what the building inspectors go off of, or those state codes,
Correct.
If you're doing business in a location, you are subject to their rules and regulations and liabilities, just as you would anywhere.
I wonder, and the bummer is if this goes big, right? Like people are trying to sell their house. Oh, was that a D.R. Horton house? now your house is worth less because of the builder that built it.
But that, that is a possibility of something that could happen if, this gets big enough, like you don't want to have that. When I lived in Texas, this was like, I was a kid at the time, but at the time, everybody's like, don't get this particular brand of home. At the time, I think it was Ryland, because in our neighborhood, everywhere you looked, the front facade of the brick, it was just a brick overlay. It's a framed house. It was a brick overlay, but all the brick was coming off. And you could drive down this one road and all the brick was coming off. And so they were like, don't get a Ryland. But that was 1988 at the time. So I'm sure they've changed their mix, whatever they were using. So, but that can stay with that company for a period of time. Do you have a new home warranty act? I don't know if you know this, but she's in Pennsylvania. She's in Pittsburgh,
awesome.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Terry.
Nice.
So yes, we do. It's bumper to bumper for a year. And then after that, I get fuzzy on what's beyond that. Because
is it state mandated or is it just county mandated for your home warranties?
That's a good question. Because I've only, even though I work Butler, Washington County, I've actually never helped somebody build a new home in Butler or Washington, only build new in Allegheny, which is Metro Pittsburgh. It's a good question. Because I actually have scheduled send emails to my new build clients, like that go out 10 months after they close. And it's like, hey, you got 8 weeks left on that warranty. You're sure everything's up to snuff? And then sometimes they're like, oh, well, there's this little thing, there's this little thing and this little thing. And it's like, zoom, get it handled. But we have a national builder in our market, and people say, do you recommend this builder? And I don't say I don't recommend or disrecommend, but I can tell you that if I were gifted this home for free for $1, I would politely decline it. I would look the gift horse in the mouth, as it were.
Whoops. Whoops. I did want to touch on that, but we're really here to talk about home prices, because I don't know about I do actually know a little bit about the home prices in Atlanta, but you're going to be talking about that. That's going to be your end of the woods. You're going to be talking about home prices in your area. But I'm going to show a house today, and this is how bad it is in my little rural town, where you pull out, you see nothing but goats and cows. A house down the road, which sold in 2019 for $145,000. I'm going to show it right now. Today, it's now selling for $220,000. It is a 50-year-old home. A 50-year-old home.
And for those following at home, that's a 50% markup.
Nearly, yeah. I mean, like it's crazy to me. Like, and I know that in your area, you're seeing, I'm reading a lot about more investors buying up smaller homes in Atlanta. Like, you guys have had a huge increase in investor transactions in the Atlanta market. So what are you seeing? Like, how high is it going up there in, like, let's just say the last year? What is the percentage?
Yeah, I think year over year, it's about 12 to 18%, depending on which zip code that you're in, school districts, all that stuff plays a factor into it, But what's fascinating is the in-town market is screaming right along, and the suburbs are screaming right along. The prices are insane. The number of offers are insane. I have a friend, it's typical for them to get 15, 20 offers on every single house. I mean, as an agent today, a listing agent, I don't even know how you function, because it's just you're fight or flight all the time, right? Like, you're just constantly going and trying to figure out which offer is the best offer. Yeah, it's insane. I don't see it lasting too much longer. How about you?
What do you think is going to make it stop? What is going to be the thing that makes it come to a screeching halt?
I've been saying this for a couple of years. I think it's rate driven. I really think we're now in the perfect storm to have rates get up into the 5s and 6s, maybe, in the next couple of years. And what you're seeing now is you're seeing houses basically be the toilet paper before the pandemic, right? Because you've got these lower rates. They're starting to climb. There's rumors that they will climb. We've seen indications that they can climb very quickly with world conflict. And now you're seeing a lot of people that, used to be, I would have clients that would sit on the fence waiting for things to get better. But I think now clients are sitting on the fence going, things are never going to get better than they are right now. I have to buy. And so I think right now you're going to see a lot of panic buying, like we did toilet paper at the beginning of the pandemic. And I don't know how much longer that goes on for, 5, 6 months, 8 months, it could be, depending on what the rates end up doing. But I've been saying it for a long time. The rates are what's going to slow this thing down. And it looks like that's kind of where we're headed.
We just don't have enough supply. That's my biggest concern.
True.
Like, that's why I don't think it's going to be like, it's not going to tank the market. We're short. What is it? Over 5 million houses now. Short 5 million across the United States. And you don't have the like record number of foreclosures that we normally would have on the market. That's not happening. Because a lot of people saved their house during that. I can't see what's going to cause it. I mean, yeah, you're going to have people that pull up because of interest rates, but I don't think it's going to make home prices tank. I don't know how that's
tank. No. Yeah, I don't see them tanking.
Terry, did you just mean flat? Did you just mean it'll go flat demand?
Yeah, I don't see them tanking. Did I say tanking? I don't see them tanking. I see them leveling off and then maybe stabilizing and potentially going down depending on how high the rates get. Like,
right.
If you loan me $100,000 at 5% today, but inflation's at 7.5%, you're actually losing money. And so if you look at any inflationary period, the rates typically will go up. And so like if you loan me $100,000 and you said, well, I need to at least break even and weather this storm, then you've got to lend to me at 7.5%. It does even
100%.
The banks are getting obviously the money a lot cheaper and marking it up. It's an interest rate. They get it from the Federal Reserve at one price, then they mark it up and they package it as an interest rate, right? So my take on it is that we will see a leveling off, and supply doesn't necessarily have to come from more people listing their houses. It can come from the other side, people just deciding not to buy. And I think where we hit that ceiling is we say, okay, when are houses no longer affordable for a certain part of the population? And I really think we're hitting critical mass on that part of it.
No
to where
kidding.
If a young millennial making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year in their first job can't afford to buy a house, then you just took a whole segment out of the house buying population,
Wait right there, Eddie. Before you put this question up, put up that clip from Yahoo News that was talking about millennials, which I thought was I was screaming at the screen. It was so terrible because they were like what they were explaining as a millennial buyer. First of all, was like, what are you talking about?
Oh my God.
What are you talking about? They were basically saying, well, all these people that have been living in their basement for the last couple of years had a pause on their student loans, and now they don't need to buy this starter home. They're starting off in more expensive homes, so that way they're foregoing this starter home and going straight to the more expensive home. That is the more expensive home is the starter home because there is no more starter homes.
Right.
Like
Terry, I don't know if it's in your market. We'll wait while Eddie pulls that up, but in the Pittsburgh metro area, it's around 70% of first-time home buyers, which are predominantly millennials, are getting gift funds from their parents or relatives, 5-figure gift funds, sometimes 6-figure gift funds, but 70% of them are getting gift funds. So it's that great wealth transfer from boomers to millennials, and that's how they're buying houses.
Yeah,
that's how they're getting, because they have the credit scores and they have the debt to income, but they don't have the down payment, and that's where they're getting it from.
Yeah, here we go. Eddie's got it. Here we go.
And I think that word turnkey really applies to the millennial generation when I think about all the new products and services that have arisen over the last 10 years. I'm just wondering, what kinds of other things are they looking for when it's coming to buying a new home?
Well, they want space. Obviously, our lifestyles have changed over the course of the pandemic, or because of the pandemic. We're all working from home, so they want a lot of space. The traditional starter home, you think of maybe being 1,000 square feet or 1,500 square feet. Some of these millennials are going for 2,500 square feet, 3,000 square feet. I spoke to one couple that's engaged to be married, and they've arranged it so the woman works on the ground floor. He's got the entire second floor to himself. They have plenty of space, so they are both working from home. They also have a dog, so they've got lots of outdoor space. The dog likes to run around and play. So they have pretty much what they want for their current lifestyle.
Oh,
families.
they are talking
then-
about a totally different person than the average millennial. I mean, they're getting married, they have a
yeah.
dog, they're buying this huge house, and she's referring to it as the whole generation of millennials is like this. They're out of their minds.
Also, she kept saying we.
No doubt.
Like, what
And they're
is she
thinking-
clueless? Go ahead, Eddie. Go
toward
ahead,
their
play.
future.
Crazy.
At some point they might want children. So they went ahead and bought like a 3 or 4 bedroom townhouse, unlike traditional couples who might be, decades ago would be like, oh, let's get like a little 1 bedroom, maybe 1,000 square feet. They're just thinking, the millennials now are thinking, what do I need now and what might I need down the line? And they can actually afford to do this because of a combination of a couple of different things.
This is
low down
this was it.
payments, low interest rates, and buckets of money. Keep in mind that a lot of the millennials,
Buckets of money.
young adults, they moved in with their parents during the pandemic. They weren't paying rent. They weren't making student loan payments. Many of these millennials are still living with their parents as they house hunt. So they have buckets of cash, which allows them greater flexibility to buy those more expensive properties.
Pause. Talk about
I think she's
out of
talking about her
touch.
kids.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
has
she's
to be
way out of
talking
touch.
about her children.
Terry.
She has to be talking about her children because that was like totally clueless to me. I'm like, what is she talking about? Like they just they don't have to pay rent or they don't have to pay their student loans. They're just swimming in cash. Most millennials I work with are struggling to make it. They're like, I am drowning in student loan debt. I have I can barely afford my cat. The only reason I got married was so we could afford to buy something together.
That VA loan benefit is pretty sweet.
It's true. I mean, you
love
think
honey, if you're watching. Terry, my husband.
Think about the millennials. They got the smackdown back in 2008 and 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Right. Those 18-year-olds that were graduating from college and high school at the time could not get jobs because there was so much talent on the street. So and now they do have a buying opportunity. I think they're buying a little bit older from what I've read. And they have massive buying opportunity because of the low rates. But don't you think when these rates start ticking up at 5.5%, that 2,500 square foot house is not going to be affordable to the first time home buyer?
Absolutely
if it is today,
not.
Honestly. Yeah.
Absolutely not. That is ignorant talk. Yes, Linda, it is ignorant talk. I just like that woman is so out of touch with reality. And then I think in some people's brains too, they think of millennials as young buyers, but these are people in their 30s.
Correct. Millennials right now are 80 to 95.
With the board.
So they are 25 to 42.
That is that's a bucket. Those people were buying their homes when I was young at 23, 24, 25. I mean, when you were 28, boy, you were behind. You haven't gotten a house yet. You're 28. What's wrong with you? So yeah, I was screaming at the phone, but I almost feel like this is how they're selling it to people. Like, it's okay. You just hold off and you hold your buckets of money until you can afford the house. You don't really want a house. And I said in my last video, I don't know if you probably didn't see it, Terry, but they have all these communities that have started up in Las Vegas, Phoenix, Arizona, and they're building to rent. And they're saying, we are in touch with millennials, and we realize that the burden of owning a home and having that weight of a mortgage payment is too much for you. So we're making these convenient houses where we take care of the property and you have nothing to worry about, and we're taking care of you. So basically you own nothing and you're renting from this corporation, and they're making it sound like it's a great financial idea. Oh my gosh. I think they're selling us a bill of goods.
Horizontal apartments. That's what I call them, right? I mean, they're basically taking the apartment concept and putting it as a house. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the interesting thing about that, right? If D.R. Horton goes out and builds a 150 unit neighborhood, they can package that neighborhood up and sell it to another investor because it's basically a giant apartment building.
Sure. That's exactly what they're doing. Exactly what they're doing. Will Garris says, question, any news on the average interest rate for build loans currently? Still have some work to do on our land, but looking to start building soon. You'll have to talk with your lender in your specific area. Building construction loans are going to be different across the whole entire, and every state is going to be a little bit different. The rates are going to change up. Eddie's got a mortgage rate calculator here, but this is for new construction loans, Eddie. So this is going to be a little bit different. Because you have a new construction loan and then they roll it into a regular loan after the house is complete. Terry, are you ready for some shock and awe? I'm going to show you something I did because I had a little bit of mental breakdown last weekend before my live stream started. So,
I am.
And then you ready?
Ta-da! I love it. I love
Whoa,
it.
check it out.
I texted her earlier this week about something totally unrelated, and I got that picture back.
That is wild. What's the story
It's kind of
behind
like
that?
mental breakdown. Mental health is real, everybody. That's a big mug. You know what? I need to put a link in the description. These come from Amazon. These are the best coffee mugs. Lawnmower, who's always the commonologist, always says, it's not that the cup is big, it's just that Christine is really small. But no, it really is a big cup. It's one of the biggest cups. I got them from Amazon and they're fantastic. I love my big coffee mugs. So everybody tell me what you think of my shaved head, my mental breakdown shaved head. Eddie was very concerned for me, but now he's okay. He's the one who shaved it originally. And then I had a barber fix it. And he said, can I cut some lines in it? I said, do whatever you want, like.
I love it. Yes, Cece. Yes, millennial in the house. Yes, I am one of us. Yes, I am smack dab in the middle of the millennial generation. And my husband's on the upper end and my baby brother's on the lower end. So we got a nice mix, and I have a middle brother in between. So all four of us are millennials, and we drive our boomer parents and my boomer in-laws crazy.
I will say that when we were just talking about home prices, and I'm getting back to it because we're going to wrangle this in.
Yeah.
Home prices this is what has concerned me from the get-go. This was a year ago. I had a young woman who was buying her house on her own. And what made me nervous was that she had cashed out part of her 401k in order to purchase the house. And my brain was like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who knows if this is going to hold off you could just lose another $25,000. But the seller was such I'll just say she was a witch. We'll just leave it at that. She was not budging. She goes, you know what? The thing is that I'll just go ahead and put this house back on the market. I said, well, the thing is that you agreed to an FHA loan, and the appraisal that's with that FHA loan can stay with that. And she goes, I'll hold on to it for 6 months and it will gain more equity. I don't care. That's what the house is selling for. That's what we agreed upon. And you're either going to purchase it for that amount of money or you're not. I was like, dang, you're okay. Well, my buyer was like, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And she cashed out part of her 401k. Today, that was actually a smart decision because that she's already gained her money plus another, $15,000, $20,000 after she's purchased that house. I would have never in a million years believed that it would continue into this year. I'm in shock on how much it continues. Yeah. And I'm also shocked on how much investors are buying in the Atlanta market. It's up 25% in that Atlanta area for corporations to buy homes, lower end homes in your area. Did you know that?
Well, yeah, the hedge funds have been around here for years, but I noticed after the last recession, the buying activity amongst big hedge funds are huge. I mean, mainly because Atlanta is super affordable. It's a big, it is the Los Angeles of the Southeast. There's a lot here.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of momentum, lots of job growth, still lots of land to build on and develop, even though it's a lot further out than it used to be. So I think that's going to continue, right? I mean, if you're in Atlanta, I can't remember the number of people, but within 2 hours, 3 hours, you can hit Charlotte, Nashville, Birmingham, Huntsville, Alabama, Jacksonville, Florida.
Really?
I mean, millions of people.
If there's no traffic.
Drive.
Yeah, if there's no traffic.
Oh, that's a big
There's traffic.
caveat there.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I
Yeah.
doing living in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
I want to go there and be 2 hours from everything.
It would take you 2 hours just to get through Atlanta itself.
Oh,
That is a nightmare of traffic.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but it was concerning to me is like, because I've talked to a lot of real estate agents in your market, and they're saying that like they're offering so much more. There's no way the seller wouldn't take an investor or buyer. And some of the houses, they were like, I couldn't believe they were willing to pay $100,000 more for this specific house in this area. Like why? Like they
Well,
are
I'll give you an
really
example.
bouncing up the market. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have this weird rental that I own with a partner, and it's in a weird part of town. The house was newer, like a split level. It's a pretty cool looking house, and it's in a good rental area. But the problem is, it's in kind of a it's not the highest and best use. You know, you have a neighborhood, right? This house is not in a neighborhood. It's next to some suspect housing and some crime area really close by. Open Door offered us almost $300,000 for this house that we paid $130 for, I think 3 years ago. We took it. It was so easy.
Hell yeah, you did.
I hate selling real estate to Open Door, but they made the process so simple. I would have much rather sold it to a homeowner, but it was just easier selling it to them. So we did.
So did you use that as a 1031, Terry, or did you backfill retirement accounts? What did you just
so we'll have a nice profit when we finish it off. So yeah, that's the idea. Max out the 401k.
Oh, it's under contract right now.
We're gonna go buy it. Yeah, it closes this week, Tuesday or Wednesday. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't blame sellers for selling it to a corporation. It just makes me nervous how many corporations have been buying up houses. This kid right here has a question. Right? Yeah, I know, kidding. This kid though has a question. I love that name. So what can they do? Do they have to tear it down to the studs and start over? I think
we're talking about mold problem.
Oh, the mold problem house. Oh yeah. Well, that will depend on a few things. So they're going to have a mold inspector come in there. If the mold inspector comes in there, what they will do is, because I'm in Louisiana, we're mold central. They'll tear all the drywall out to the studs, and they will, get behind the wiring and everything else. And then they put this liquid on it. Then you have to wait for that liquid to dry on there, because it kills all the mold. And you have all these fans and dehumidifiers going in the house at the same time. Then they test all the wood beams, the studs that are showing, to see if there's still mold in the house. Then you have to do it 2 or 3 times. Once it's done, then you can go right in and start back over again. But it looks like the problem was with the air conditioning unit. So you're going to have a new HVAC system put in correctly if that's the problem, or figure out their venting problem. Eddie used to work in the roofing industry, and he said you wouldn't believe how many people never had their air conditionings vented correctly out to the outside. And it's also really common to have the vent from your dryer never connect to the outside, like flume. So they'll have the hose that goes all the way to the attic, but it's never connected to that pipe to shoot out the air. So you have all this dryer lint that's shooting moist air shooting into your attic, and piles of lint there too as well.
So I feel like it pops on every other home inspection.
Yeah,
like, sorry, we just left this disconnected so that your attic can grow mold. Bye.
Yeah, it's really common, and even in brand new construction, they never put it on there. For some reason, it gets lost in the sauce under the insulation, I guess, or just somebody just doesn't check off the box. Now, of course, county officials are supposed to, catch that. And if you don't have a home inspector, you're never going to catch it on your own unless you know what to look for. So, yeah, if it does end up being a mold situation, that's what they can do. No, very rarely do they take a house and tear it down. Like here in Louisiana, they can pretty much bring back any house. We know how to handle mold like no other state.
My house was built in 1950,
Yeah,
and our average house in Pittsburgh is like 50 or 70 years old.
I love
Lawnmower.
Lawnmower says the lint adds more insulation in the attic. Hey, but you know what? They do make insulation out of cut up blue jeans. They do. That's a real insulation. They make it out of cut up blue jeans. It's environmentally friendly.
Who knew?
S has a question. A question, not a question. Okay. I have an older house, 40 plus years. Mold can develop over years and basically ruin the foundation, joists, and studs. I'm in Massachusetts. Because of mold and mildew, part of the house needs to be rebuilt. You may not have to take out your studs. You can treat that.
Mm-hmm.
That is treatable as long as it hasn't deteriorated the wood. We do it. I mean, we're flood central. And as long as you can dry that out and treat it, you don't have to tear it down unless there is actual deterioration of the wood.
I would always caution, I don't know how it is in Louisiana, but in Pittsburgh, there's a lot of people who test for mold. And some real estate agents, I'm one of them, in the general home inspection have a separate mold inspector who's certified separately.
Yes, that's the same.
However, some companies rely on everything being mold and they don't have independent third-party swab testing. I'm personal friends with the owner of the largest remediation company in Pittsburgh. So
aren't you something?
No. You know, like it's like this, like if they're making money on treating the airport, treating multiple school districts, treating hospitals, they're not trying to rip off the small little homeowner. You know, they're just doing it because they know that they need residential business too. So he comes out and he tests them, and a lot of houses don't have them. But he's also, before I used him, I used a guy that I feel like everything had mold. And so I would caution S to make sure that that company doesn't just rely on quote unquote everything being mold.
Somebody said that if it's black mold, then it's got to go. Yeah. Like, but the likelihood of that is a lot lower than you think. I think we've been scared to death. I think I saw this one lady, she had this home and she literally lit a match to it because they kept trying to treat it and they said it was fine. And the next day she went downstairs because she had made a loaf of bread and there was mold all over it. And they walked outside and lit that sucker on fire and walked away.
Wow, that's crazy.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, wow. Yeah, that was in California. She was done. She had just waited a couple more years and wildfire would have gone in and just tore it right out. But she had no patience.
No patience. Sage.
It is interesting though, right? Because I mean, we're breathing in mold spores when we go outside, and you know that's what
Also
allergies
true.
come from. I mean, these spores and stuff, they're everywhere. It's keeping your house obviously down to a humidity level where they populate and grow. That's the key. So you know what we use?
Synthetics.
Kristina,
Go ahead.
all of our we have 3 or 4 Airbnbs that are 40, 50 years old. We obviously test for mold and remediate and get all that stuff out of there, but we also use a really high powered filter that will trap any of those spores inside that filter, which is helpful too, especially in older houses.
Here in Louisiana, if you had a house that was built in the late 80s and early 90s, there was a product called synthetic stucco. So the front of the house would look like stucco, but it was really like with a foam back. Much like D.R. Horton, this synthetic stucco was not geared for our type of climates here. So when they were putting them on the houses, sure enough, over time, that backing that was on the synthetic stucco started to swell. And instead of swelling out, like it would start cracking a little bit, but it was really just pushing moisture inside the house into the beams, right? So it was like a sponge that was pushing backwards. And then you have all these weep holes that let out moisture. They were just like running out water. And then, so a lot of people, when they got those cameras out, then it was really discovered how much water was inside and causing a lot of problems, more problems than you probably even knew about. And a lot of people were like, why my living room and my dining room is really like, it feels wet. The water's wet. And then they start cracking this open and it was just like disgusting. It was really bad. So synthetic stucco was a thing. So even it was so bad that they still to this day you have to disclose if your home has synthetic stucco on it.
It's same here. Built. Yeah, we have it in Atlanta as well.
Yeah.
It's a problem in Pittsburgh and we're really dry. So and
maybe
cold.
Maybe that was just one of those things that there
Yeah.
just was a bad product all the way around.
Period. Full
Yeah,
stop.
forget the climate. They're just blaming it on that. Sage, question: who is buying all these houses so fast one day and it's pending? Oh my gosh, there's so many. There's BlackRock. There's like 4 or 5 that are just literally buying to rent. There's like, I forget the name. Is it? Oh, Eddie can pull it up for me. Eddie was talking about this. He and I were talking about this the other day. It was one of the biggest buy to rent companies, had been around forever, but they buy the most homes. Then you have Open Door. You have
American?
all these
Yeah.
American Rentals.
Mm-hmm.
You have all those iBuyers
American Homes
that
for
buy
Rent?
all these houses. Yeah, American Homes for Rent. That's it. Correct.
Sage, in Pittsburgh, it's mostly regular people buying houses. It's millennials who have been sitting on the sidelines, like, accumulating their buckets of money, but no, seriously, they're able, ready, willing, and able to buy. Again, mostly facilitated by their parents and relatives, boomers, cash infusions for gift letters. Gift letters are just pretty commonplace nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are boomerangers in Pittsburgh, meaning they go away after college from like 23 to 30, and then they come back and they buy a house 30 or 35. And so a lot of them are getting jobs or they're telecommuting and they want a low cost city. So I have very few corporate offers on my listings, very few. Like, I would say like 5%.
Well, my little area, it's not that big of a deal, but if you go into New Orleans, you're going to get a lot more, a lot more. So, and then, in New Orleans, like this is one of those things you always have to pay attention to what's actually going on into the city that you're living in, because New Orleans has gone up and down, up and down, up and down through this whole entire pandemic because of all the there were so many different things that happened. Not only that, there was a bunch of investors that had bought into all these condos that were going to turn them into Airbnbs, and the hotel industry came in and said, and guess who has bigger pockets? The hotel industry. So then they had all these condos that were sitting there and all these projects that had been started, and then they were abandoned. And so, but now it's coming back. So for basically apartment living. So always pay attention to what's going on in your area. And even though we're making statements for our specific area, it's going to be different for the area that you're going to be living in. Mm-hmm. So just, even though we're pretty smart, that doesn't mean that we know everything. We can't know every single market under the universe. So Eddie, you can pull up the next question if you could, please, my friend.
My
friend, Eddie Teddy. He's the producer, the prettiest producer in town. All right. Sorry. Winterwork says, what are these people? Where are all these people coming from? Birth rates in the United States have been going in the downward direction for years. This is true. How is a shortage unless these houses are being turned into rentals? Okay, now listen. Even though we have less people being born, they've also made a heck of a lot less houses since the last housing crash. We had a surplus of new constructed homes before the crash happened. The crash happened. A bunch of these builders were like, we are never doing that again. If we sell only 57 houses in a year, we'll build 60. And, but that's it. We're not doing one more, we're not doing a 30 extra. We're not doing that. We're never doing that again. And because of that, new home construction has been on a decline ever since then. And so that has really caused the biggest recipe of shortage of supply of houses. We've had a shortage of supply of homes, new construction homes before the pandemic. It's just been really exacerbated because of the fact that, like low interest rates, lack of supply, lack of the amount of homes being built. And now it's, this is the effects of that. This is what we see. And I know, like, for some people, they're like, why is it that you want the housing market to crash? I don't want it to crash. I want it to be a more even, fair playing field for everybody, more stable. Correct. This gets me nervous, and it has been getting me nervous for a couple of years. I don't want people to lose equity on their house. I mean, that's not what I want to, like, nothing's worse than seeing people go through short sales and foreclosures. That was that was gut wrenching during those times.
Mhm.
But I don't like this either, where every buyer is like, I'm scraping up money from my dad, I'm cashing out my 401k, just to get into a home so they have
Sure.
somewhere to live. Because even rents here, you can't find a house to rent, and the houses that are for rent, they're expensive. It's a lot more than a mortgage. So it's like I feel for people. I really do. This is the weirdest time I've ever seen
It is
in real
so
estate. And
weird.
I've lived through some pretty crazy times in real estate, but this one's bad. I don't think it's not as bad as when we were going through the foreclosures and short sales to see families getting thrown out. That was the worst. But I feel for people that can't get a house right now, an affordable home. There's nothing affordable anymore. Miss Me Much. Oh, Miss Me Much. Miss Me Much.
Cute.
Jadel Jackson.
Cute.
Anyways, a question. I have a friend interested in rent and lease to own in an Atlanta metro area. Any advice for her? This is your question, and I'll throw my 2 cents in. Terry.
Yeah, I would say if she's interested in a lease to own, that's obviously a lot different than a rent, correct? So rent to own or lease to own, those are hard to find. Typically, you try to find those off markets, maybe some older landlord who, who's owned it for 15, 20 years, and he still wants to make, or she wants to make some mailbox money. Maybe you could ask them if they'd be willing to sell or finance the house to you. That's one option in terms of a rent to own. You're probably doing a lot more guerrilla style, out knocking on doors, trying to talk to a landlord versus those just aren't listed on our MLS, the rent to own and the buy to own. There's Facebook groups in different markets that have seller financed houses, rent to own houses. And I would say investigate some of that and see if you can have some luck there if you want to truly do rent to own or lease to own.
And I would be extremely cautious of companies that claim they have homes that you can rent for a year and then purchase later on, because they might be charging you a higher interest rate while you're working on your credit. Not only that, if let's just say you were doing this and you rented this house for the period of time, now the houses have gone up even more. You may not be able to buy the house that you were planning on purchasing, like that you're now renting. Another thing here in the state of Louisiana, we have something called a lease purchase, which means that you put down a sum of money, usually like 5% of the house cost, that stays in a non-interest bearing account, usually with a title company or some other like third party. That money is not touched until the time that you're about to purchase the house. You have only a limited period of time to get that loan. After 12 months, you either have to hand over that down payment or to either the seller, because you can't purchase it, or to your new home purchase. So if you can't get a loan and the sellers say, hey, we're going to put this back on the market, you're out $10,000.
Yeah.
So, like, just be very cautious, and not, some people will say, well, we're going to do a rent to own. So part of our payment goes to the down payment of the home. You better get that in writing, and you better have it notarized, and you better have an attorney look at it, because I've not seen one of those work out.
I believe that rent to own is actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, but I think rent to own is now an outdated term. Like, we're not allowed to use it for Dodd-Frank federal regulations. Now it's lease option, which has replaced rent to own. And it 100% has to be drawn up by an attorney. No exceptions.
No exceptions. Yeah. I'm saying there, if you're working with an individual seller that doesn't have to necessarily follow regulations and guidelines, I would take all that documentation and paperwork to an attorney. So that way, that your part of your payment is going towards this, and you will rent to own at some point.
You can do 4 per year. And individual investors can do 4 lease options a year.
So
and then after that, they have to, I believe, if they seller finance as well, you have a certain number per year. It might be 4 as well. And then you have to do underwriting. You have to send out the loan to an underwriter to professionally underwrite the loan. If you're going to do seller financing versus lease option, or at least
people should just work on their credit. Just work on your credit.
I know, but people are trying to find the best thing for them, and they're just trying to find a house. I get it. And you don't want to throw all your money towards rent, and you're thinking this is the best option for you, Oh,
well, check this out. I mean, I have an investor, a friend of mine up in Greenville, and there's a certain segment of our population that deals mostly with cash, and they don't trust banks. There's not great credit. And so he's offering a solution to buy a house and do seller financing. Now the rate's high, it's 8-9%, but if they can get in there, get a loan, report to the credit bureaus, and then do a refinance, then he can get those properties can be moved after a couple of years into a more traditional financing. It's giving people that are in pretty much a cash-based situation, they don't do a lot of credit, that they're able to still buy a house.
Right.
So
right.
He's doing about 100 of those a year.
Oof.
Wow. What a business.
Yeah.
HVA Ball says, question I have, what do you think of a $500K loan is unattainable to two professional 35-year-old millennials, or even a $700K loan? $100K income will get you a $500K loan. I think $100K income with one person will only get you $250,000, $250,000. I don't think $100K. Oh, two professionals, so it'd be $200K. Well, that would depend on your debt to income ratio. I mean, like your income could be that, but you might have debts that, I mean, I can't read your credit. So that's how they come up with your number. Like your friend who made less than you, how is it that they got approved for 500,000, but they may not have as much debt to income ratio. They call it your DTI.
Right. Do you have student loan debt? Do you have consumer debt? Do you have credit card debt? Do you have vehicle debt? Do you have furniture debt?
Medical debt?
What else?
The list goes on forever.
The list goes on. But
Yeah.
the biggest one is, do you have higher education debt? That is the biggest one. Do you have higher education
Is
debt?
that weighted heavier for I didn't think so. I thought it was way lower.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. The average American real wage is $67,521 in 2020. The average household income is $87,864. The median U.S. household income is $61,937. Did you know, and this is an interesting statistic that I also brought up in my last video. Did you know that in 2019, before the pandemic, pre-pandemic, for every 25 homes, it was for someone that was earning between 75,000 to 100,000 could find a home within every 25 homes. That would be considered an affordable housing option in their area. Now it's 1 in 75 houses. 1 in 75. And so when they get to those houses, of course, they're in a bidding war. They can't win. And those homes that would have been affordable for them, people that are earning $75,000 to $100,000, they cannot find affordable house in their area. That's a lot.
That's a problem.
That's a massive problem. That's why I keep talking about it. Like, well, everybody's like crash, and it's a super sexy thing to talk about. But really, we're in an affordability problem. This is a major problem, an affordability problem. When you have more than 42% of the United States that can't find an affordable house to live in, that's a serious issue. That's a serious problem. Anyway, moving on. Says Chip B says, question, what percentage of homes under 2,000 square feet were purchased by investors? That's going to depend on your area. Like every single market's going to be different. I don't know what it is in your area. Do you have that statistic on hand there, Terry?
I do not. No, not in terms of square footage.
No, they always just take the lowest, cheapest ones. Like if you have a house that would have been before the pandemic around 170,000 or under, between 130,000 to 170,000, those are the ones that are scooped up by investors. They were gone, even before the pandemic. Now they don't even exist. Like I showed a house the other day, and it was before the pandemic. This house would have been 120,000. There was a line of cars all the way down the road, and they were overlapped showing appointments, which they weren't supposed to be. Overlap showing appointments, and now it was selling for almost $200,000 in an area that would never have been that much ever. Like it was a declining neighborhood. And now, because of the way that the market is, now it's not a declining neighborhood. And Eddie
I saw a
wants
similar video of an agent in Charlotte or Raleigh, Durham. I don't know if you saw that one, but I mean, the same deal. She
Yes.
was on the front porch, scanning. It's insane.
Yeah, when I got there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just like this, because there were cars all the way, like in the driveway, all the way around, 3 families sitting there talking about the house, all the things that need to be done to it. It was crazy. Share of buyers by generation. Gen Z are down there below because they're younger. And then the younger generation of millennials is buyers is 13%, and then sellers are 3%. That's still really low. Older generation of Y millennials are 25% of the market is buyers and 19% are sellers. Gen Xers are 23% buyers and 22% sellers. You would think that that would be higher for Generation X with selling their homes. So younger boomers are not buying as much, but they're selling more. Older boomers are not buying as much, and they're selling at 23%. And the silent generation, 6% and 8%. Buying is 6% and selling is 8%. But they're saying that more boomers are retiring in place. They're not even. They're going ahead and buying themselves a second home. They're like, you know what? I like our family home. We're going to go ahead and keep it. It's small. We can take care of that. I know who the doctors are, and we're going to get another house as a vacation house, and we'll have one more as a snowbird's house. So they'll have like the cabin in the woods, and they'll have the house in Florida, and that's become more popular with them. They got a lot more money than us Gen Xers. We're slackers. Gen Xers are slackers. Mystery Machine 1 says, if liens were discovered on the property during the sale closing and were disclosed in previous purchase transaction, who is responsible? Liens had prior owners' names and not current ones. If you have title insurance, who has the title insurance? That's who's responsible. That's why you get title insurance. This is I don't sell title insurance, but here in Louisiana, you can have some granddaddies, daddies, grandsons on the 4th generation on the second side, all of a sudden to say, that's my land and here's my deed. And then they're having to clean it all up. If you have title insurance, you're going to be fine.
So the seller's title insurance is responsible. And ultimately, if the seller paid cash and did not obtain title insurance or a title search, it's on the seller. That's the bottom line. And it happens every day. It happens.
Because Tanya Cold said so.
It's like, whose fault is it? Well, this is why you have title searches. This is figure A.
Yeah. And then it can get really messy. It can take months for title to clear up when there's a bunch of liens on it. You know what, Terry? I was just thinking about this while we were talking about this. So property taxes, because of the home increases, are going to go up. Do you think that possibly because of taxes going up, that some people are going to be forced to sell their home? Do you think that could be an issue? They're like, I was so used to my payment being $1,000 a month. Now it's $1,200. I can't afford that extra $200. Do you think that could cause an issue with more supply of homes getting on the market because of property taxes? Do you think that's a thing?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a thing in terms of people not being able to afford the rising taxes. I don't know if it's going to impact supply all that much. Because I mean, you've got some municipalities have homestead, some areas, as long as you stayed there and you don't move, they're not raising the taxes. I mean, every town is different in the way they handle that. Like retirement friendly towns, like in our county, if you're 59, you get to exempt from the school tax, for example. So, I mean, after you're 59, it wipes about $2,500, almost half your property taxes off of your tax bill. So yeah, living in those kinds of friendly areas can be extremely helpful.
Yeah. Somebody always says that, like, once everybody starts getting these property tax bills, boy, you're going to see a lot of houses hit the market. I'm like, property taxes kind of work different in every single area, like maybe in your area that could be an issue, but not here, Yeah. So I wanted to ask your opinion so I could throw that out there. Sage, yes. Kristina, will you find me a house in North Louisiana? I do not work that market, but I do know some agents out there. If you want an agent that I'm like personally friends with, you can go to my, Eddie's so good. You can go to my website and then fill out the about, get past about me. Nobody cares about me. Just let's connect that.
I care about you.
Just go to book here and then fill out a referral form. and then I'll get with you. If you leave your phone number, I will call you. There is a chat bot to the right. Don't click on that. That thing gets on my nerves. Just fill out the actual form that's in that little pink and clicked area. So just click on that.
I want
and
to see
fill out
that
your
cool
form.
picture again at the
Oh,
top.
you want to?
That's
Eddie, scroll up on my
Yeah,
website. He wants to see.
I love that.
Oh, this one.
Footloose and fancy
Nice.
free.
My
So
kids
good.
want me to take this picture down because apparently there's a thing on the internet about feet, people and feet. Their kids are like, Mom, you need to take that down. There's some freaky people out there that are like really into feet. I'm like, oh, forget it. Yeah, I'm not taking down my picture of so I left it there.
You didn't want to do the power pose like this?
That's a
I'm
good
not
picture.
I'm not a real estate agent that has these like.
I've been in business for 40 years.
Yeah, I don't have that pose.
Oh, yeah.
Or this one, this pose. Like, boy, you really look inviting.
Yeah, the
They
male
always
female
look like a
team
deer in
where
headlights.
they're right back to each other.
Yeah.
Or the uncomfortable male female team that aren't married and their picture makes it look like they're married. I'm like, okay, you guys are weird.
Real estate
Terry, you're killing me.
real estate agents make the weirdest photos.
Oh, man.
Marketing, like we should do a whole video on bad real estate marketing. We could do
Oh,
a
yeah,
whole
no
skit
doubt.
about it.
I would adore it.
And they only
So,
take that photo one time. How many? Like, it's not like you're going every year for headshots, right? I don't think I've ever taken more than one real estate photo for my business card. So
I do it
it's
about every 5
when I was
years because I
35.
change my hair so much.
Oh, yeah.
I change it often. So when I made my hair purple, I was like, when I made it purple, I had changed my my picture. I hope I'm saying your name right. Prathi Logan says, question, Kristina, love to know your input on the Indianapolis, Indiana housing market. I would be lying if I told you I knew anything about it. I can look into it a little bit further about it. I don't know what you're wanting to know specifically about the Indianapolis area. I can find, give me your questions. Go ahead, Terry.
I got some friends that invest in Indianapolis and Indiana, 3 or 4, and I think it's a good housing market to buy rentals in as an investor, and it's also pretty affordable from a going and living. It's kind of like along the lines of Akron, Ohio, Indianapolis, Indiana. Those areas kind of up in the Rust Belt are still pretty affordable.
I'm actually filming a video today on the 10 most affordable cities in the United States. And they're not in like Hoboken and Nowhereville where, you're like sitting next to the cows and like where I'm at, And so you be on the lookout for that video. Yeah. We need some affordable cities. I have a question. Lalo says, I have a question. I heard by May this year, homes won't be worth buying or selling. Is that true? Well, that's a specific date. Somebody must have a crystal ball that they know that is the day that they've marked out. Yeah, I have it behind me. I don't think there's a person on the planet that can say by this specific day, the whole housing market is going to crash. It's impossible to gauge that. Every single day, housing market, interest rates go up and down within the hours. Like someone could lock in a rate and then an hour later, the rate is completely different for the next person.
Yep.
So to say that by May, that it's all going to fall apart, that's pretty ballsy. I don't think they know what they're talking about, honestly. They're guessing. And a lot of what you see on the internet, especially on YouTube, they're trying to sell you clicks. They want you to watch their videos. So they make these outlandish remarks with explosive titles and thumbnails to get you to watch their videos, even though they may use some very loose facts and some half put together sentences from articles to do some confirmation bias. It doesn't make it true. Anytime you're concerned about a housing market in your specific area, contact a real estate agent that's in your specific area, because they're going to have a pulse of exactly what's going on in their housing market more than anybody else, even more than me and Terry and Tanya. You have every market has its own little micro market, and they're going to know it better than anybody. So just don't listen to everything you hear on on the internet. Who knew that everything on the internet isn't true? Did you know that, Terry?
I did. Yeah. Sometimes I believe it.
Yeah, but sometimes those half-brained ideas end up being true. If it is by May, man, that person was like, they had some good tarot cards. I'm impressed.
I want those.
Yeah, I want those.
Have you ever watched the Big Short, the movie?
Read the book, watched the movie, love it.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. I've read the book. Probably watched it 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie, pull up the article. Go ahead.
Those guys knew what they were doing.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
My baby brother is a 26-year-old Michael Burry. He is like that with analytics.
Oh, love it.
He just
pull up that second article when we talk about what they were. This will give you what the experts had said. This is so crazy to me because the experts were saying how much the housing market was going to increase in December, right? These are the like Zillow, Redfin, all of their top analysis. It says what home prices will look like in 2023 according to Fannie Mae. Scroll this down to that first paragraph. Okay, home buyers got more bad news in January. 70% of homes for sale ended up in a bidding war, the highest rate on record. Simply put, so far, 2020 hasn't delivered any relief for home buyers. Heading into 2022, the broad consensus of real estate industry was the growth would be decelerated significantly this year, which everybody was saying, yep, it's crashing, it's falling apart. We're going to see unless there's houses that are sitting on the market longer. And then it says, but just over 2 months into the year, some of the same firms are walking back their 2022 forecast. Zillow was forecasting the home growth would be 18.8% between December 2020 and 2022 would be decelerated by 11% growth this year. Then last month, Zillow revised that to be up 17.3%. So, I mean, they did a total walk around. Zillow isn't alone. Fannie Mae became the latest real estate firm to shift up its forecast, the 22 forecast. Last year, Fannie Mae predicted that the median existing home price would only climb 7.9%. This year, now Fannie Mae says the median existing home price in 2022 will jump up from $355,000 to $384,000. That would come out of a 11.2 year-over-year price jump because they had really we talked about it was going to be 6%. Fannie Mae had said 6%. If the home prices do rise another 11.2%, 10%, it would mark the market deceleration from their current growth rate. However, that would hardly represent the relief from the home shoppers. After all, the typical raise of the corporate America plans to dole out this year is only 3.9, but Fannie Mae does still think relief will come in and just won't happen until 2023, which I had said. Next year, Fannie Mae projects home prices will rise 4.2%, with the median existing home price jumping to $395,000. Let's just think about that. The median home price is $395,000. It wasn't too long ago that was $180,000 was the median price.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. That is how many people? Like people that are making $100,000 a year, they can't afford the median home price.
No. Household income.
No.
Household income. Like they can't do it. Like you got other bills to pay. I mean, you wouldn't be able to afford that house. That is insanity. Total insanity. Well, I just wanted to jump in and voice my concerns about the housing market. This girl right here, she's gotta sell a house today. I'm gonna go sell a house. I'm gonna go sell a house today. I'm gonna go show this house that was at $145,000. Terry, the real estate guy. He used to be a nice guy.
Oh wow, look at that.
Look at you. Common Sense Real Estate News and Info. Terry took a break, but he's coming back to YouTube. I'm trying to make him. Terry's one of my favorite people to have on the show, and he's such a smart guy. And Terry's got a new project he's doing with some Airbnb rentals. Ooh. Are you going to be filming any of that and putting it on your channel?
Yeah, so we'll film that. We've basically, the reason I've been absent from YouTube is we've kind of changing. We own a real estate investment company, and we're turning it from a house flipping organization to more of a hospitality business. So we've acquired, I think, 7 Airbnbs in 6 months. And it's just a lot of work to set up an Airbnb. So we are going to work on featuring some of that Airbnb stuff and teach investors kind of how to do Airbnbs. And at the same time, I've gotten really addicted to people's Airbnb stories. Like, why did they buy that piece of junk and turn it into an Airbnb? I have a friend that bought 3 little sheds that look like outhouses, and he's turned them into this really cool butterfly garden. And nobody's telling the story of these investors. And so I want to tell some stories. So I'm excited.
I did one just not too long ago of a guy who he takes containers and turns them into Airbnbs in like this little nowhere town called Warrenton, North Carolina. I did that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Cool.
He didn't know what he was doing, and then he pulled it off, and they're super cute. I'm gonna go up there again because I'm taking my husband up there. We're gonna relax. We're gonna relax.
Nice.
Relax in the Airbnb container home. Terry. Oh, and Tanya
Yeah.
Pool. Don't forget
greedy
Tanya
investor.
Pool.
Oh man. Now, my Airbnbs are not in areas that would keep a homeowner from buying typically. So.
Oh no, and the guy who did the container homes at like Warrenton, North Carolina is not like the happening housing market. Let me just put it that way. If you need to get a hold of Tanya, guys, she is in the Pittsburgh area. She has her own website. What is your website?
TanyaCole.com.
Tanya Cool, who's cooler than the other side of the pillow. That is not her official catchphrase, but that's what I call her. So you can go visit her website and fill out a form. I know. Yeah, and she's cool. She's cooler than the other side of the pillow. So everybody, I want to say thank you to Terry. I want to say thank you to Tanya. I want to say thank you to all of you that have spent the last hour with us discussing and commiserating over the housing prices. If you have any questions about the real estate market after this video is published, please put them in the comment section below. I will answer them within the first couple days. After that, I kind of zone out. I'm not going to lie. This girl's busy. And don't forget, Tuesday, I'll be putting out a video about the most affordable cities in the United States. And believe it or not, they're not in the sticks. So everybody, thank you so much. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Tanya.
Nice meeting you, Terry.
Thank you, moderators, for keeping the chat super cool.
Thank you,
Good job, Eddie.
Yeah, thank you,
Pro.
Thank you for taking care of the chat. I always appreciate you. We're going to dance our way out. And then we're going to take a look at my awesome cool do right here. My mental breakdown shaved head.